Thank you so much for always keeping it on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabonyonyitono. That is in case you've just joined us. But I can't forget to remind you that from 6:30 we are here with a very hot, interesting morning show, which is Good Morning Uganda, of which Extra is an extension. And what do? We spice up your mornings, we cheer you up, yet we give you relevant information, both locally and internationally. So make it a date with us. Every weekday, you can't afford to miss this exciting morning show. Now, today in Extra, I'm handling a very interesting topic. Regarding your savings as a worker, we all know that a few Ugandans save the National Social Security Fund, and money over 17 trillion is there, which is savers' money. The fund is that much. Many today have benefited from that is midterm. And a number of people that are getting money, you save for 10 years, you clock the age, well, just by a click, a few days, you have your money. And of course, many that have benefited when actually they clock their retirement. But today I want to discuss something very interesting, which is the Now You Can campaign registration drive. Well, following the amendment of the law, that's NSF amendment, now it's not only a person who employs 5 people or more that must remit to NSSF. Now, anybody employing anybody, it's regardless of the number, you remit to the National Social Security Fund. And recently you saw an ultimatum of 30 days. So to ensure that numbers no longer matter, it is the people at job. And joining me on set to discuss this is Benon Katende, who is the Chief Technical and Enterprise Solution Officer, National Social Security Fund. You're most welcome, Benon.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I must say this is a welcoming and a lovely place. And I'm glad you've given us an opportunity to talk about what's happening at the fund. So thank you.
Well, to begin with, when you talk about NSSF, you know, everybody knows the National Security Fund in various angles and what they're supposed to do. Someone who was telling me, I think I should go and get a loan from NSSF. I told him, no. But I heard government is getting loans there. So why can't they give me? Someone tells me, but I'm broke. I think I should get my NSSF. So exactly what is your mandate as the National Social Security Fund? For clarity purposes, of course.
Thank you. So NSSF, first of all, was established out of the NSSF Act, a law by government. And our mandate is very simple: to be a social security provider for employees in the country. The Act, we will report under what we call our parent body or our regulator is called GRSB. And what that means is that they've given us the ability to go in and collect from employers on behalf of employees, invest that money and pay out. So that's our mandate, and that's what we do. So we collect, we invest it, it grows, then we give it back to you at the point when you actually need it, when you don't have the ability to earn funds anymore, to make sure that your quality of life isn't depreciated. And like you rightly put, so we've been doing that for employers who have more than 5, but since the amendment came in, we now have the mandate to collect from anyone who has at least 1 employee, and I believe that's almost everyone, yes. And that's what we're running at the moment. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, every Ugandan will be okay to say sentes are fair. You know, previously I was telling people, it's not just required. I was like, hey, do you save with NSSF? If you want to save with NSSF, say sentes. So push your employee to ensure that you become a part of the savers with NSSF, then you authoritatively say sentes. But good, now we are targeting everyone, yes, no matter the number. And that is the campaign dubbed Now You Can, campaign registration drive that is ongoing. But also, throw more light on this.
So, like we said earlier on, in 2022, there was an amendment of the act that was passed, the NSSF amendment, and it brought a number of changes. I'm glad you talked about midterm. Part of that is that people who had made 45 years and had saved for more than 10 years could access their benefits. And I'm glad many people have benefited. I don't know if you're one of those, although you look too young to have done that. But
at least I know many who have.
Many
at least
who
I
have.
can give good testimony to NSSF.
Yes, yes.
I know a number of people. At first I also thought, but well, the only question would be, do you advise these guys on how to invest this money? Because recently I saw someone who said, no, I've been with you for a long time. And I was like, I said, for all this time I've worked, I've never driven my own car.
Yes.
I did a few, went and bought a car. I'm like,
Yes,
okay.
yes. Yeah. So like I was saying, so part of that amendment wasn't just to pay out the midterm, but also to extend our mandate as the fund to say that you can now be a fund for all the Ugandans, not just those who are employed in a company that has more than 5. But it also gave us the ability to to be innovative and create other products that are relevant to our members. And like you rightly put, before that people would have to wait to get their money, wait till you're either disabled or the money goes to relatives if you're dead or if you've retired. So we kept getting that feedback that, you know what, be more relevant to me as a saver. So we said, okay, let's start with midterm, but then also do other products that are relevant to the member. If you want health insurance, if you want school fees, if you want capital accumulation, so those types of needs. So they came with that particular law, but also the fact that now we target all the people as long as you have one employee. And we want to, as part of this campaign, we're looking at growing our numbers by about 1.2 million savers. Those are employees. And also growing the number of employers that contribute by about 50,000. So we believe as we continue doing that, then we'll be truly a social security provider for everyone, not just the few, and that's our goal. As to your earlier questions, do we actually advise people on how to use that money? We believe strongly in what we call financial literacy, to try and educate the person that if you get the money, please budget it accordingly such that you have not just for today, but also for tomorrow and for the future and things like that. We teach them how to do things like budget, how to start businesses, how to not just start but to maintain businesses, to grow their income, how to spend wisely. So it's a holistic or 360-degree view on how to get people to understand what money is, how to take care of it, how to grow it. And also once in a while, like you're saying, to splash out, to have those luxuries, because life is short. Like you're saying, we were chatting earlier, you're a biker. If you want to buy a bike, I think that's also allowed, but in context of your total financial health.
Now, this brings me also to understand who is targeted. Because when you talk about the Now You Can campaign, that is to ensure that you bring everybody on board. You see, Uganda is a very interesting country. And always when such come to me, I try to, people have housemates.
Yeah.
This is one person, some even have two. Rich people have three.
Yes, yes. That's
so at this part of it, we have a very huge informal sector, yet hard to document.
Yes, that's true.
So are those also targeted? So we want to know who is in, who is out.
Who is out, thank you. I like that question of you have a maid, is that person part of the target? So the NSSF Act actually defines who an employer is, and those are the people that we need to collect from, that need to remit the 5% they collect from the employee and their 10%. And such definitions include whether it's a government employing you, whether it's a registered corporation or any other business that's registered by any other law. For example, you're registered under KCCA to do certain things. It includes things like partnerships and sorts of corporations. So by those definitions, you're made, whether it's one or two, would not qualify. However, we also have a scheme called voluntary contribution scheme, and you can choose to say, yes, I'm not mandated to pay for this maid, but out of the goodness of my heart, out of the well-being of this person, out of making sure that I give this person a helping hand, you can actually contribute for that person, you as the homeowner or the person that employs that maid. And yes, we also encourage that. We also encourage those that may not fall, any other person, not just a maid, you don't fall in that category of that person being your employer. We encourage you to do that voluntarily, and that also comes and joins the pool, and you get to enjoy the benefits of Social Security. But more focused in terms of this, we are targeting, our emphasis is mostly on the medium and small enterprises at this particular point in time, to say that yes, you have a small business out there and you've been excluded before. That's where we want to get the bulk of that, and we know that a large chunk of our economy is driven by that particular sector. So we want to make sure that yes, you have an industry and a factory, it's growing, your profits are growing, but let's also take care of your employees that are in there. It's one or two, you have a small factory that makes nails or that makes fences, whatever it is that you do, we want to target you, and we want you to register, first of all, you as an employer, but also for the employees under you to register.
Okay, then now how do those eligible beneficiaries or the people targeting get to register? Because that has also been a problem.
Yes,
we know even very many formal places of work, and simply they don't remit. And it's business as usual.
Yeah.
They don't remit unless someone vocal or something like that. So now, if in that category we've not gotten 100%,
true,
then how do we go to this more complicated category and expect 100%? So how do those, because good knowing you're right, but when you know how to get to
that particular person. Very good question, very good question. And the reason, first of all, that we needed a lot to do that is that we needed the flexibility to target that particular employer and employee. And so we're doing a number of changes internally to make us agile, be able to serve that particular person in question. And one of the things that we've done over the years, and we continue to do, and getting much better at it, is that how do we make it easy for those guys to register? Both the employer and the employee. We're driving a whole campaign on convenience for both the employer and the employee, to make sure that if I tell you to register, that the process of you doing that doesn't involve you jumping through hoops. Signing out, no signing an awali, again they were else collaborate. So we've made it that simple that first of all, on all online channels, whether you're an employer or an employee, you can go there and register. And it's straight through, it's instant. For an employer registering, we just need you to come with your TIN number that you get from URA, or what we call a business registration number that you get from URSP. And once you do that, it's a 4-step process, and you'll be registered, you'll get an NSSF number. And we do the same for employees, to say that, again, go back to any of our online channels. Very straightforward. From you, we'll simply need your NIN, your national identification number, and a valid phone number. Put those in 1, 2, 3 steps down the road, and you're registered. So you can do that on any of our channels. You can also do that on, it's something that we're rolling out for our partner channels. Right now on MTN, you can go there, MTN Mobile Money, and you'll be able to register for NSSF. But we go beyond that, and we also say that if you're the type that is not yet technologically savvy, or you haven't yet learned about this, all our branches are open. You just walk in, and there'll be a form that you can fill in, and you'll be assisted in the shortest time possible, and you'll still be able to go out with that. But we also say to employers that have many employees, and you can't afford to let them go off, or it's more convenient for that to be done centrally, then we also actually visit such employers and say, you know what, we've come and we are setting camp here. Let's go through and make sure that by the time we leave, we've registered everyone. So for us, convenience is at the heart of that, such that whereas we give you an ultimatum to register, we've also made it very easy for you and given you incentives to actually register. And yeah, so we encourage everyone to take this up on our website, or we have different media, we have different options on how people can contact us and register.
Well, bring it closer to you and making it very convenient. Now, this 30 days deadline to employers, what is it intended?
Well, so the law came into effect on 7th January 2022. Since then, we've done about 3,200 employers that have come on board. And we all know that the number is much bigger than that of people that are eligible for registration. So we're saying, I think we've had a bit of time and grace with that particular, so we're saying, please, you now have 30 days to come and register and do that. Now, as part of that law, you'll also find out that every time you have areas or you have contributions that you've not made, as per the NSSF Act, there are penalties that accrue at 10% of the amount that you actually haven't paid. So I'm saying, okay, the law also allows us as a fund to recognize that, okay, this is new, you probably haven't been doing it, or you've, for one reason or another, you haven't. So we said, come register in these 30 days, and we have the rights and the ability to waive off those penalties such that we do start afresh for that. And hence our appeal to say, you know what, let's give you 30 days. In this period, we'll negotiate, we'll use our rights to waive those penalties as ingrained or as provided for by the law, such that then we normalize that relationship. And we also don't want those employees that are working for you to go without that cover, because it's something that hits them later in the future. So hence our campaign to say, please come register. Started on the 28th of last month, so we have another 26 days to go. So we urge everyone out there to come and register. And to also nudge your employer, if he's not registering you, please make sure that you register and start remitting the funds.
Now, you've just talked about something that has trickled my mind. Where does the fund get the powers to waive penalties? This is one of the things also I don't want to go I don't want to enter there, but this statement pushed me there. Where do you get, as the fund, the powers?
Okay, like I said, so NSSF was established by an act of parliament, so there's a law that governs what NSSF does and all its activities. And one of the sections in there, section 14, actually, as on the first part talks about the penalties that, like we talked about, 10% per month of the amounts that you actually haven't remitted. But the same section also goes on to say that the managing director has been given the right to actually waive off those penalties if he or she deems fit and if certain conditions are met. So it is actually enshrined in the law that yes, the fund has the ability to waive that, and that part sits with the managing director. So it's derived from law. It's not one of those things where we say, okay, let's just come up with something and get that done. Everything we do is governed by the law.
And there's a formula to that.
And there is a formula for that. Yes. So the law gives us that, but then internally we develop what we call procedures to say, this is how we arrive at whether we will waive yours or not waive some other person.
Oh, okay.
So yes. And at the cornerstone of all of that, for us, the fund, we believe in the security of the savers' money. Like you're saying, fund yafefena. Everyone, it's their fund. And we know that since you've entrusted us with your money, for us, security of those funds is paramount, very paramount. But also paramount is that we grow the fund such that if you've given us 10 shillings, after 50 years, we're not giving you back 50 shillings. We're giving it to you with a lot more growth. Yeah.
Very interesting. And of course, we know when you talk about saving for people, let me tell you, social security is very vital. At that moment when you cannot wake up to fend, you need a shock absorber, you need a fallback position. And NSSF, they say they can guarantee that. I must say, and I must thank NSSF, there's been improvement. At least now it is easy to find someone who will tell you they got their benefits.
Yes, their money, yes, yes.
They processed it. It didn't take so long a time, and they got it. Previously, some decades back, it was as hard as a Ugandan astronaut going to the moon. But now this brings me to ask, what happens to companies that do not comply with the new law? Because for us as a country, we don't just do things as a people. And if there's nothing, well, it's business as usual. So what happens to non-compliant companies?
So first of all, picking up from what you just said, as a company being non-compliant, you're robbing your employee of that benefit. And that has grave consequences. Like you said, get to that day when you don't have the strength anymore to work. It's your retirement. You're supposed to be somewhere in your farm, seated and relaxing. But we all know that a number of problems come in when you're old, especially medical. And at some point, you still have an active life to support. Maybe you have children, school fees to pay, different projects. So any company that doesn't comply, you're robbing your employees of such a good benefit. So not only do you get those penalties for the amount that's not paid, but the NSSF law also provides for offenses that are punishable by law under the Act, Section 44. So yes, the offenses that are punishable by law that can be levied against that employer for not remitting those contributions. However, as a fund, our preferred approach would be that let's first get through all the available avenues for us to resolve that before getting to that. But yes, those penalties are there, and yes, you can actually be charged for not remitting the contributions for your employers. So we urge all our employers that let's not get to that. Let's not get to that. And that's why we do things like this, where we're saying, you know what, we've given you a 30-day window in which you can come and we can discuss and pay up, and you're up to date, and we can actually, through our mandate, through our power that's entrusted upon us, even waive those penalties. So yes, there are consequences to that, and we don't want people to get to that level.
Well, there are consequences. We hope people don't get to that level. And we pray those that get to that level dance to that tune, because depriving someone of such a right, in my opinion, is a grave sin.
Very, very.
You know, more so in government, and through an act of parliament, we have the National Social Security Fund. There is a time when people need money most.
Yes.
Illnesses have come up, responsibilities and the bodies are wearing out, so you better not be a stumbling block in this new campaign. While we are still discussing, that is issues regarding Now You Can campaign, which is to ensure that everybody who is regarded by the laws of this country as a person employing others can ensure that all the workers is no longer above 5, but all the people that you employ have savings with the National Social Security Fund. Now, this also brings me to understand, how many employers and employees are you targeting, or are you hoping to register under this campaign?
We are hoping to get in about 50,000 employers. And we're hoping to get in about 1.2 million employees throughout this particular campaign. So yes, we know the coverage is there. We know that those people actually do exist in our economy, and so for us that's a starting point at this particular campaign. But again, of course, we'll continue that, because that's our day-to-day business, to ensure that there's coverage for everyone, because we are a social security provider of choice in the country, and that should be for everyone, not just the few that we have. So yes, so the number to remember is 50,000 employers and 1.2 million employees.
Oh, we hope we get to that. And
I think we will. I think we will. And
it looks quite an uphill task.
It is an uphill task, but the beauty of it is that we were now equipped with everything that we need to do that. We have the law on one side we talked about, the Act, And the way we apply that from both a carrot and a stick perspective, we give you an ultimatum to do this. With the promise that if you comply, then there can be waivers on balancing on both sides, but also giving the members, the employees and the employers, the convenience with which they can do all of this. So we don't make it cumbersome or burdensome for them to be able to do that. Yeah.
Now, do you have some partners that you're going to work with to enable you a venture into this new market segment? Is it about NSSF alone? Because I'm trying to look at how quick we can arrive there, because this is a matter of urgency. Social protection is a matter of urgency. We don't need to dilly-dally. Or is it something that you're taking on as NSSF alone?
So thank you. I'm a personal believer that the greatest accomplishments in life were never done in singularity. Yeah? The role of partnerships cannot be overstated. And if you look at NSSF, the way we work, so first of all, we're under both the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development as well as Ministry of Finance. So those are, first of all, are key partners out there in terms of a governance perspective. But when it comes to operationalizing a number of these things, gender in terms of the policies that we do, we also work with things like the trade unions out there, because they have a catchment area of employees that they work with. We also, there are employer federations out there. There are different organizations like Uganda Law Society, or different entities that we can work with that help us with given facets or given areas of us implementing this. So partnerships very key. As you can tell, we cannot, there are certain people that are easier for others to reach compared to us reaching them. And the fastest way we'll do that is those partnerships. We have those at working level. We have those from a technology perspective to enable us drive the convenience that we talk about. So in different areas, we have those that help us drive convenience. There are those that help us drive compliance, partners like the police. So we will continue to run through a number of those partners to make sure that we get to what is seemingly an uphill task for us to attain.
Well, allow me go for a short break, and when we return, we'll be discussing more.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
It's true what people say, that when I wash and you wash your hands with soap, we'll have less infections as Ugandans. After all, it's hands that handle money. It's hands that feed us. Hands that prepare soil for farming. Hands that we use to learn. And hands that we use for fun.
When I wash and you wash hands with soap, it means clean hands for all. This is a message from the National Hand Washing Secretariat.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short break, and thank you so much for being with us here on UBC TV. In case you've just joined, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyiton, and this is Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of Good Morning Uganda. Now we are looking at the Now You Can campaign registration drive being done by the National Social Security Fund, the NSSF, that aims at ensuring that everybody employed by a company or what is defined by the law can remit to NSSF monies of those that work for him. Previously, without the amendment of the law, well, it was if you had 5 and above. But now, as long as you have 1, that money should be remitted to prepare that person in case of an eventuality or when they have clocked that age to be able to benefit from their savings. Now with me is, Benon Katende, who happens to be the Chief Technology and Enterprise Solution Officer, NSSF. Now, when we went for the break, you're talking about the repercussions, one being, of course, one on the moral element, which is cheating, people that have worked for you, made for you profits, made your business thrive, however small it is. But in the interest of the viewers, also, this triggers me to understand currently what is the status of the fund that we're talking about to have more people. If you can just give us a brief.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I think I also want to say thank you because you've given testimony to the fact that there are people that apply and they're getting their money and they're doing so within a short period of time. So that emphasizes the fact that, that the money is secure, the money is growing, and we have the ability and the willingness to actually do pay that. Like you said, the NSSF fund has been growing. It's a growing fund. Right now we stand at more than 17 trillion shillings of savers' money that's seated with the fund and invested in different securities. And more specifically this year, if you compare this year and last year, you find that the contributions that they were collecting have grown 22%. 22% this year alone compared to last year.
Wow.
And that again tells you that yes, there's the trust is there. That there's a lot of work going in to ensure that every year that we are collecting a lot more. But it also speaks to the fact that there are more jobs being created in the economy. So yes, for me that's a good thing that yes, year on year our collections are going up 22%. But if you also look at the income, like we said earlier, when we take this money from the different people out there, we then invest it in different securities, such that when we grow it and give it back to you, it's not the same at 20 million that you gave us. So if you compare last year to this year, our income has grown by 17%. 17%. That's the money that we make off investing your money. And we all know that that money then translates into the annual interest that we pay out, the growth that your money comes. So the fund is growing at absolute term level in terms of the money we're making, and you get to see that again through your individual balance, interest that we pay you for. But more so on that, the funds are very secure. Very, very secure, and you get to see that we have.
And that is the most interesting area I want to listen to. Very secure, because some have an option whether to save or not. It is a deduction that happens there. But the biggest concern is how safe is our money?
It is very, very, very safe. Very, very safe. Like we said, NSSF operates. First of all, its all activities are governed by the NSSF Act. So what we can and cannot do is stipulated in the law. We have oversight in terms of who our regulator is, that's URSB that we talked about. We have a dual reporting line where we report both to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development as well as Ministry of Finance from an investment perspective. We are audited, and one of the things that we like to do is to actually be transparent. So for every member, we actually give you the ability to say that, you know what, this money has come in for you. And every time your employer sends money, we give you that visibility in terms of whether it's an SMS or statement or email. We we get to show you that. We also get to show you any time that we pay interest. So at any point in time, you can see your money and you can actually take us to task and say, you know what, they sent this money, but I can't see it on this statement. And we have mechanisms for things like that to serve our customers, such that with that openness, then you can get to say, okay, I have been saving since for the last 20 years, but I can see that every amount that is sent is actually on my statement. So for us, that transparency shows that we were taking good care of your money, we are growing it, but it is there, and you can see it, and you can take us to task. So I'd like to assure everyone that very, very safe, very, very safe, not just very safe, but actually growing, that you don't get out what you actually put in, you get out a lot more.
Well, I think one of the things I can testify to is the updates. At least every month I get those regular updates.
That's good.
Provisional balance, this man has been credited to you, this and that. And of course, I always wait for the interest to be declared. I wait properly. And then I go back to mathematics. I make my calculations. Then I'm like, okay. Okay. And what gives me more joy is that now you can have this midterm. No, so these issues where someone had to first reach that age or get disabled, and actually many were not testing the threat of this man. It was because some would die, then the family would have ways and then eat the money. Unfortunately. But at least now you can have this midterm, either squander it, it is your money.
I know.
It is your money.
It's your money, yes.
You've shorted for it for a period. But I would advise that you make a very good investment of this money.
That's true. Hence our financial literacy. And so yes, it's all about the openness, such that you see your money. And I like the fact that you wait for the interest.
That's where, yes, I could have not done much, but with calculating interest.
Thank you. And it's open. We even say this is the rate that we are paying at, such that you can say, okay, they said they're giving me this rate. I have a statement
wait for
of
that
my balance.
You have at the end of the year.
The AGM.
And UBC covers it very well.
Very well, yes.
So I'm very eager with my pen. I wait for that moment. Okay. Then let me go and see this year what is going to be the interest. I go back to my mathematics classes. With the money I must know.
You must
know what I have. I can joke on other things, but not social security. No. Yeah, because you don't know when that time may clock. So you must be sure that in case of eventuality, where is my at least beginning line, starting point? And that's why I say this is a very good move, and we hope people comply. Comply. And it's my prayer if even you could extend more. However, but still, Ben, something that comes to my mind is enforcement. Yes, you've explained the law gives you the powers, but people remitting, owners remitting NSSF. I don't know which percentage you've perfected that, but it's a broad problem. Many people, even it's detected, it's not remitted to NSSF. Some assume that NSSF it's there. But they have never gotten these messages. Because at least for me, I can say NSSF does that. So how is NSSF? These initiatives are very good. It's like having the law and it's not implemented to the latter. You know, people remain talking about, there is a law, I'll report you. But if you have a justice system like we have, then justice delayed is justice denied. So what are you doing as NSSF to enforce remittance?
Thank you. Very, very important, once again, like you said, and most importantly from the employee perspective, because you're stealing someone's money as an employer if you don't do that. The fund takes a multi-pronged approach to make sure that we enforce the contributions from employers. And it ranges, and we do that proactively, first of all. So we don't first wait for you to get to a level where we're saying, okay, now we're quoting the law on you. Now we're going to do this. So from a proactive basis, as part of our ongoing operations, we have a team that's specifically dedicated to monitoring and enforcing compliance at employee level. And that's a KPI that we track actively to make sure that, you know what, people actually complying, they're actually contributing. I think we are somewhere north of 50 in terms of that compliance rate of the people that are, of employers that are remitting funds. So we do that proactively, and that team does a number of things, including audits to make sure that that every company is not only remitting any amount, but actually the proper amount based on the employees that it actually does. We are now also broadly employing technology to make sure that these things are very easy for us to pick up. Very easy. And without divulging a lot, we are able to tell that, you know what, much as you say you're paying 1 billion for 20 employees, if we correlate information from different sources, we know that you're supposed to be paying a lot more. And so we use us as a basis to start engaging you to make sure that you actually do that. We have also gone ahead to strengthen what we call a whistleblowing mechanism. And whistleblowing is where you, for example, can say, I work for this company, but first of all, I don't think they're remitting our money. They're deducting it, but they're not sending it, or they're not even deducting it. And you don't have the means to actually report that without jeopardizing your job where you are. So we have what we call a whistleblowers platform that we've enhanced, where you can go in and put in details anonymously to say, you know what, this company, for this particular period, furnish us with a certain level of detail, which we then use for us to start our engagement with the employer. So from the employee side as well, if you sit there and you think you're being cheated out of your money, we also have that avenue for you to actually report and say, you know what, I don't think this is happening. And if you're there and you don't even have the visibility, like you're saying, I'm glad for you get SMSs, you get email statements, etc. If you don't have that visibility, again, please reach out to us on call center or any of our branches. We have that ability to say, you know what, this is my phone number. I want you to give me that update. Those updates, first of all, protect you as an employee, because every time that something hits your account in NSSF, you will get to know. But if you don't have that, you don't even have the starting point to start that engagement. From a proactive side, we do that. But then, of course, then, if those areas, if we see that we get to that area that we don't, not yielding much, then the other areas that we talked about, whether it's an ultimatum to pay with the promise to waive, or then going the legal route to ensure that that's enforced. So end to end, we make sure that the employee is not cheated through different mechanisms. And for us, that's a very important KPI, what we call compliance. And we drive it vigorously, and we will continue to do that going forward.
Well, if all is as said and all sees the light of day, that means that many Ugandans will benefit from their savings in NSSF. And we pray and hope that many people come on board, many companies, many employers see the reason as to why they should comply. But before I let you go, I also still want to know how people can benefit from something you talked about, financial literacy. Because I've seen a number of people who get money, and it seems universal, like everybody who dares to invest slightly reasonable goes in rentals.
Yes, yes.
Those that retire, it is as if it is universal.
It's only rentals. Yeah.
Rentals. I always ask myself, well, if by God's grace I get there, what should I use this money for? Now, these are people who have been in offices, some of them. Have never some have never done any business. Salary and a few deals maybe here and there. So finally, when they retire, I don't want to go to the medium because that is another story also. But how do you get them, Bambi, not to just waste this money? It's painful when you see how one begins saying, I long to go for holiday. It is good, it is your money. But NSSF, you know, how sometimes the numbers are many that click this time and they need money. So How do you do that?
So thank you. So we do that broadly, but also specifically. And if I start with the specific bit of it, so we know who is due to get money if they so choose. So if you're turning 55, we know that you're due for that money. We can see midterm. We can see everyone who's eligible for midterm because of the criteria that one needs to meet. So specifically then, we actually target those people to try and give them as much information on what it means to have that bit of money and what they can do with it specifically. Because, you know, this person is going to come into 500 million shillings. And those, we give advice in terms of how can you invest it? Where are people putting their money? And of course, you'll hear things about rentals, and rentals are common because of possibly the low level of risk or the low level of involvement. But we make it broader in terms of how someone can grow that money or keep it as safe at a minimum. So specifically, we target those people. But also from a broad perspective, we believe in the financial health. We also believe that if the employees are financially healthy, that they know how to handle money, then the fund actually does grow bigger. So broadly, even if it's not time for you to get your money, we'll tell you about things like, we'll bring in speakers to tell you about things like, if I want to invest in chicken or goats, if I want farming, if I want money markets, if I want government securities, how do I learn things like budgeting? How do I run a business? How do I start a business? How do I manage my expenses? How do I grow my business? So we do those things on a broad level, even if you're not due for your money. So we tackle it from that perspective, make sure that at all angles we are covered. And one of the things I want to do going forward is we also want to use technology a lot more to drive that financial literacy. We may not be able to reach everyone by saying, okay, let's have a webinar, or let's have a class, etc. And people learn differently through different media. But we believe that technology that's adapted to someone's situation is a universal language. So we will do a lot more of that to ensure that we are growing the financial health of our people, because then that translates to the fund and translates to the economy of us growing big. And you're right. If you have been seated in an office and all of a sudden you get 200 million shillings, the chances are that you have the experience to invest it in something other than what you know are very low. So it's something that needs to be tackled, such that whereas you're getting people's money, make sure that when you're paying them out, they have something to use it for. So very important for us, again, a key KPI, and strategies are there, we're executing on them to ensure that, you know what, you don't get it today and a year later, you've actually lost all your money.
Definitely. Well, I must let you go, but before I do that, let me have your parting shot.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here and to talk about something that's pertinent to people's well-being and to the economy. And I urge everyone, I think, let's, as employers, I urge us, let's register. Let's register and let's contribute for those people. It's a key benefit, but it's also, let's not look at it as a cost to the employer. Let's look at it as a tool for motivation. Let's look at it as part of the value proposition that people will be glad, people are happy to work for someone who actually does remit their funds faithfully. And for the employee, I think let's take ownership, let's take responsibility, let's not sit back and say, I think my employer will do it. Let's drive that conversation actively. Let's drive the registration and remind that employer that, have you registered for me? And let's also, let's take advantage of the tools that the fund is putting out there. Let's take advantage of the financial literacy. Let's take advantage of all the channels that the fund has put there to make sure that the transparency, that I can see that which affects me, that I can see whether my contributions are coming through. I can see that my interest is being credited, that my details are up to date, and that all is in order on my side. So let's take that responsibility, and I think together we'll build the fund and the country at large. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That is Benon Katende, Chief Technology and Enterprise Solution Officer at the National Social Security Fund. We've been discussing the Now You Can campaign, registration drive, and of course to remind the employers that, well, the 3rd-day ultimatum is there for you. Please, there's so much benefit you stand. Have that done. And of course to the employees, well, this is your right.
Yes.
It is your right. It is your entitlement to give you a safer landing. So not just sit and think things may be done automatically. Get out of that like a chick does when it's being hatched. Fight for that, get it, and of course, you'll have a safer landing when that time comes. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. God willing, let's remain peaceful and God-fearing. Good morning.